You're welcome to my channel. Thanks for visiting. Thanks for sharing, subscribing to my channel, and listening to all my presentations. Today, I'll be addressing Plasmodium life cycle. We cannot understand how we can acquire malaria, get it treated, how it is transmitted without thorough knowledge of the life cycle of Plasmodium. Someone may ask, why are you wasting your time making detailed presentation on Plasmodium life cycle like this? Well, it is not a waste of time because we need to know that mosquitoes as well as human beings are both involved in this business. And we need to know that the life cycle will be inside the mosquito itself, the mosquito gut and the salivary gland. Then we need to know that we don't have malaria unless there is the erythrocytic stage. That is the time the infection or the signs and symptoms of malaria will become obvious. And also, we need to know that hepatic stage is responsible for relapse. Let me give you an example. Somebody is now in North America, either US or Canada, but originally living in Southeast Asia or India or Sub-Saharan Africa, no female Anopheles mosquito in Europe or North America where he or she is right now, but was in the endemic zone before, treated for malaria, but that time he or she had been treated, attacking the erythrocytic stage of the Plasmodium life cycle. The hepatic stage was still there. He or she boarded the plane or the flight with the hepatic stage. Later on, that will grow and multiply, releasing all sorts of things, and then coming down with malaria in the Western world, where he or she has not been bitten by a mosquito in the last 6 months or 1 year. That is pretty important. Then, with the life cycle knowledge, we'll be able to select the appropriate anti-malaria agent, and also effective malaria control can be achieved having this knowledge. I'll start with the definition of certain terms here. Plasmodium. That is a unicellular obligate parasite of insects and vertebrates. Here, the insects will be mosquitoes, particularly female Anopheles mosquito when it comes to malaria. And the vertebrates here will be animals on the field and human beings. The Plasmodium would develop in insects, and that will be insects that will feed on the blood and then inject the Plasmodium into the vertebrates. Inside the vertebrates, there will be further growth and multiplication, and that will occur in the liver. Don't worry, in a bit, you'll get a clearer picture. After that, they will then invade the red blood cells in the bloodstream. You can see the image here. And that will lead to destruction of the cells and the release of certain chemicals, cytokines, and pro-inflammatory cells, and so on. And then the individual will come down with signs and symptoms of malaria. Another insect who will then bite the sick person will pick up some parasites from the sick person and start a new cycle all over. Further definition will include sporozoite, because we will come across that. And that means a spore-like stage of the Plasmodium life cycle. It is motile, and it is the infective agent that will be introduced into the vertebrates, or let me say, into humans. You will come across schizones. A schizone is a cell that divides by schizogony to form daughter cells. You will also see trovozoites. That is a growing stage that absorbs nutrients from the host. The list will include merozoite. That is a trovozoid from schizogonine with the capability to initiate both the sexual and asexual developmental cycle. Furthermore, on definition, we will come across gametocyte. I will not go into full biological definition of that, just limiting it to Plasmodium right here for today. That will be sexual precursor cells of the Plasmodium. Here we'll come across the male gametocytes, which will be defined as microgametocytes, and the female gametocytes, which will be described as macrogametocytes. We'll also come across zygote, but I will not go into full biological definition of that, just limiting it to this today, that it is fertilized egg cell from the union of the male and female gametocytes. Hooknet is a monozygote of Plasmodium that forms the oocyst, while the oocyst is a thick wall structure containing a zygote of Plasmodium and capable of releasing infective sporozoids. Now, Plasmodium types. Some will be surprised because many people will be familiar with Plasmodium falciparum, right? We have more than that, we actually have 6. But you will get the full picture about the geographical location of each of these when you listen to the presentation I've already published on the epidemiology of malaria. There you will see the regions of the world where you can find each of these. But for now, the types of Plasmodium will be Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium malariae, Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium knowlesi, and Plasmodium simium. These will not be found in all regions of the world. You are going to find Plasmodium simium in some regions, vivax in another. Falciparum is the one with the broader location, but check my presentation on epidemiology of malaria. Okay, back to the life cycle of Plasmodium. We'll be dealing with 2 stages. Stages in human being and in the mosquito. Human stages. Here, the female Anopheles mosquito with Plasmodium during a blood meal will bite a malaria-free person, and the journey starts from there. Okay, here I've decided to make a sketch on my own. So mosquito bites human being. Okay, it's human skin, right? Pretty funny. Then what will happen? Sporozoids will be injected into the blood of that person and then straight into the liver, where it will form hepatic schizomes. The hepatic schizomes will undergo growth and multiplication, and then merozoids will be released. Okay, the merozoids released will be released into the circulatory system, and this stage is called the pre-erythrocytic stage or the hepatic stage. So when the merozoids are released, they will attack the red blood cells, but 2 things will likely happen here. A, part of it will form the female macrogametocytes and male microgametocytes. Okay, then part will undergo ring formation, and then there will be early trovozoid formation, which main trovozoid phase will then begin. Then erythrocytic schizomes will be formed, and that will be the case that will eventually release merozoites later rupturing from the red blood cells. So this is the erythrocytic stage. So there are two stages in human being: the pre-erythrocytic stage in the liver and the erythrocytic stage in the red blood cells. The erythrocytic stage is the time that cytokines and pro-inflammatory cells will be released and the individual will have signs and symptoms of malaria. So the male macrogametocyte and the female macrogametocytes will be picked up when another mosquito bites this sick person in the cycle. Now, the pre-erythrocytic cycle. Sporozoids are poured or inoculated into the blood. They are a product of sporogony and the start of the asexual cycle. This will be the very first stage of any of the malaria parasite entering human body. The sporozoids will then migrate to the liver and the liver cells, that is hepatocytes, will be invaded. In human liver, cell division will occur after hepatocytes have been invaded. Within 7 to 10 days, they will multiply in that liver as pre-erythrocytic stage or the hepatic stage. They will then become multinucleated schizomes, may be referred to as hepatic stage schizomes, and later on the schizomes will rupture and then release merozoites. The erythrocytic stage, still in human beings, later the schizomes will rupture and then release merozoites. Merozoites will then infest the red blood cells. In the red blood cells, the immature ring stage called trophozoites will be formed and later mature to a multinucleated schizomes. The schizomes here will also rupture and release merozoites. The erythrocytic stage is the time that malaria symptoms will start showing in the infected person. So, no signs and symptoms when it is still hepatic stage or pre-erythrocytic stage. Then, some parasites will differentiate into the sexual erythrocytic stages, that is, male gametocyte, otherwise known as microgametocyte, and female gametocyte, known as macrogametocytes. Now, mosquito stage. Here it is all about sporogony cycle. That is, multiplication will be taking place inside the mosquito. So in mosquito, what's going to happen? Let's start from here. So when the sick person is being bitten by mosquito while feeding on human beings already sick with malaria Plasmodium, they will ingest the male and female gametocytes. Okay? The male gametocytes, the female gametocyte, then something will happen. There will be penetration of the female gametocyte by the male gametocyte, forming zygote. Okay? So the zygote will then develop to ookinete. Then from ookinete, the ookinete will invade the midgut wall to form the oocyst. So you can see the midgut, that's where this will take place, and then the midgut wall, that is where the oocyst will be formed. Then later, sporozoids will be released from the oocyst, and then the sporozoids will migrate to the salivary gland of the mosquito. Okay? Then mosquito that will further go ahead to bite another human being will then inject. You could see the two terms, ingest, that is taken in from the sick person. They will take in the macrogametocytes and the microgametocytes, forming zygote, ookinete, and so on. This time, the sporozoid in salivary gland will be injected into the human being. Then the human stage will start when the mosquito stage has ended. So the cycle begins all over. Now, by ripening, sporogony cycle, that is multiplication in the mosquito. During the blood meal, the female Anopheles mosquito will ingest the merozoites, that is male and female gametocytes. In the stomach, that is midgut, zygote will be formed by male penetrating the female gametocyte. The zygote becomes motor and elongated, given another name known as ookinete. Oocysts will be formed when ookinetes invade the mosquito midgut wall. Oocysts will then grow and rupture to release sporozoids. The sporozoids will then migrate into the salivary gland of the mosquito. Once the salivary gland is reached, the sporozoid can easily be inoculated into the blood of the next human victim, and the human cycle starts again. With that, I've come to the end of this presentation as per Plasmodium life cycle. Remember to share this. Remember to subscribe to my channel. This will form the basis, upon which we will select appropriate medication to handle malaria. For example, the erythrocytic stage will be well taken care of using certain anti-malaria agents, while the hepatic stage will be well taken care of using certain type of specific anti-malaria agent, and that is why relapse could be prevented or not. Thanks for listening. Remember to share, remember to subscribe. I appreciate it.